Hey everyone, the St. George election this year is incredibly important. Go to votestg.com to see who's running and what they stand for, or visit us at our voter booth at Digby's Market, Red Rock Bicycles, or down in the park.
The pool of candidates that are willing to do really important jobs is really shallow. And using the St. George City Council is just like a small sample size of it. You know, you end up with I think 18 ran to begin with, then it was 16, then down to 14. And of those 14, you know, getting 3 really good quality candidates out of those like 18 is like, I'm still like, well, I don't know, like the 3 best ones. I don't know if the 3 best ones are in the top 6, right? I'm not actually even sure if the best ones are there, but they were the ones that were really willing to raise their hand. And so I can see how at that county commissioner level too, is that you have somebody with talent, with experience in the public sector, you know, in the political world, but then also in the private sector, somebody that can, you know, live in both categories. It's a hard job to find those people to do it.
Well, and it's a horrible job.
I can't imagine.
It really is. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
My wife asks me all the time, like, why are you doing this? And there really is. And I know this sounds cliche and there's far too many jaded people, but this is the truth, is that I thought I could help.
Yeah.
Right. Like I mean, and I ran against 12 other people. So that was a very full field as well.
Yeah.
And there were some wonderful people that and for a lot of this job, I think that this is a partisan office. So for me, you know, any good conservative in Southern Utah could probably handle a lot of what I do. Mm-hmm. But on water and on economic development, especially in regards to Zion, I knew nobody else could touch me on that. And that those were 2 critical areas that we needed somebody with some experience. And that's why I finally acquiesced and said, okay, I'll do this. I'll do this at least 1 full term. It's going to take me that long to kind of move. I don't need to score a touchdown, but I got to move the ball far enough down the field. If I'm going to do it, I got to have at least 1 full term to give me.
Yeah. What's the term for the county?
4 years.
4 years. And how many years are you in so far?
2. So I'm only filling a special election to fill the rest of Dean Cox's term. So I'm up. I'll run again next year. Just because I'll need that 1 full term at least. But there really are good people at the city, at the county, at the state, at the federal level. There are good, honest patriots who are, and it's easy. And honestly, it's pretty intellectually lazy for a lot of people to be like, no, they're all crooks. They're not all crooks. Yeah. And having worked in Congress for 6 years, you know, people would say, I hate them all. We need to do a full line change. Get everybody out. How do you feel about your congressman? Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. Love him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I've met him. He's really nice.
If everybody does that, really then that's why we keep having the same people in Congress. You know, we keep electing the same people. So, but there really are good people that are doing this for the right reasons. And they're saying, look, I think I can help. I've got some expertise. I've got some knowledge in this issue. Let me bring that expertise to bear here.
What do you, I mean, because a lot of times because we brought up being a conservative, and that's something that's been super a hot topic, at least in this St. George City Council, is like, what is a conservative? What's liberal? Because it seems like we've run into this scenario, and this is nationally too. It's like, it's zero sum. It's like you either toe this specific conservative principle line or you're not conservative at all. Yet there's nuance in the job. Like when you're actually in the job, having to make decisions, you know, it can't be zero sum, because then we'd never get anything done. There'd never be any movement, you know, to the left or to the right, right? There's just, it doesn't seem like there's ever going to be, you know, movement if you get stuck up in this. It's got to be 100% this way, and if it's not, then it's a no vote, right? And that's not reality, right?
It's not reality, and that's a great way to put it. I actually, as I was at the rodeo last night, and I was talking to a friend for a while, and we were sitting there, and I just said, you know, she was actually bringing up that same point, and I said, you know, the problem with we'll take the U.S. Congress, but this applies at all levels. In different forms. But the U.S. Congress is the easiest one for most people to understand. I said, if you know, what is a conservative? To your point, you know, I believe strongly in the Republican Party platform. I think that is the best way for America to maintain liberty, personal liberty, independence of government overreach, but also having an established set of rules that we can all know, you know, expectation management here. How are we all going to live together in a society, right? I think it brings the most capitalism. I think that has lifted more people out of the depths of poverty than any other form of government in the history of the world. And so for those things, that's why I'm a conservative. It's what I believe in, right? But if you take when you talk about those nuances, so think about the very first bill to drop in Congress, to be introduced, we call it dropped, to be introduced in Congress on day one, which is a 2-year Congress, right? A session, is House Bill 1. The last one to be introduced is House Bill roughly 10,000.
Yeah.
That's about how many we get in a 2-year Congress.
Wow.
You can't vote on all those. It's impossible to thoroughly vet. And some of those are messaging bills and they're never going to see the light of day. Some of them are just too small. You know, I want it to get passed, but it's not a big enough national import. So they'll stay and die in committee. But even if it was half of them, 5,000 bills,
yeah.
How are you going to do that? So what they do is they combine them. I don't love the process, but it happens, right? They're going to combine them. And so let's just say there's 100 bills get combined into one so that we can actually get something passed. And let's say that there's 80 items in there that are strong, conservative, you love them. There's 10 items, you don't really care. It doesn't bother you either way. And there's 10 things you don't really like.
Yeah.
How do you vote? Is that a conservative bill or a liberal bill?
Yeah, it's hard to say because, I mean, depending on the person's perspective, those 10 could be deal killers. Maybe even one of those 10 could be deal killers for the whole entire bill.
For me, there are certain things that you put one of those in there and I will not.
But what if 10% of your constituents do believe in those 10 items, right? Like thinking about, am I representing my entire constituent base, or am I only representing the ones that voted me in, which I think ends up being a big problem too. It's like, well, these people voted me in, these people didn't vote me in, so I'm not going to represent them. I'm going to only represent the ones that voted for me. And that's not really what that's not really the job. The job is you get voted in and then you represent all of the above.
You do, but you can't take so using, because that's a good analogy, but you can't say, okay, well, I've got, roughly 20% of Washington County is more Democrat than, either moderate or Democrat. About 80% is fairly conservative. Okay, so 20% of the votes I'm going to go against what I believe to be the right thing to do, but only to try. I don't govern that way.
Yeah.
I govern with the way I think. I think that 80% of this county has elected me to do what they think is the right, because we have the.
So 100% of the job is to represent that 80%, right?
No, not to represent the 80%. I'm representing all of them, but to represent what I think the best decision is moving forward that will benefit all people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
20% of the people may disagree that is the right way forward, but I was elected to say this is what I think is the right thing to represent the population. This is the right way to move forward on an issue.
So what should we do with those 10 things that you're like, I don't believe in that? Do you say no to it?
It's going to come down to sometimes. Yeah. Depends on how egregious they are. If they're kind of, I can probably swallow them, then you're going to vote yes, maybe, right?
Yeah.
If they are horrible things, I mean, there's some absolute poison pills in my world that I would never vote yes on, and I don't care how much I love the 80. You put one of those in here, and this thing is dead for me, right?
Yeah, it ruins the whole thing.
And so, but then people say, well, your heritage score or this. Well, all they have done, all of those are just people's opinions saying, well, is the 80% better than the 10?
Yeah.
Or not? And it's subjective, right? It's how people are ranking. And so there are people that say, I voted for this. And wow, you look like a great conservative. And then the other person says, I voted against it, but for this reason. Oh, you look like a great conservative. Well, you voted on the other side of it.
Yeah.
One votes yes and one votes no, and you're both a conservative on the same bill.
Yeah.
How does that? Because it is all very, very subjective. And honestly, legislating is hard.